Hi, folks. It's Mark Merrill with Firm, Fairness in Reporting Media. We're going to be talking about enemies not only of the state, but of the First Amendment. You're looking at them. Take your pick. The largest dartboard you can find. We'll be talking about an article recently where Donald Trump won a battle against these morons. Specifically this one, CBS Paramount. We'll get to that in just a moment. But coming up on Firm, folks, we've finally gotten into some information and a link with American Radio Journal. I don't know if you've heard of it or not, but we will provide a link for it. It happens every weekend on great radio stations also in this state of Maine. Most Sunday mornings at 5:30 in the morning. I know it's early, but it's for our country, folks. American Radio Journal. Recently, American Radio Journal spoke to a gentleman of American Sunrise Group, a Jake Novak, talking about the parliamentarian in Congress, our Congress. We have seen a lot of news items on it. Well, we're going to get detailed about it. And also, Mr. Novak goes into how the Israeli-Iranian conflict is affecting American freedoms, our economy, and our culture. It's got to stop. Primarily, folks, on enemies of the First Amendment. As mentioned, you can see, ladies and gentlemen, mainstream media logos. There's still plenty of accusations, threats, and even advertising in TV, radio, and online, social media, by subliminal and sometimes downright in our faces coercion, corruption, to make demands on American citizens of all ages to buy, not sell, because that's what they're doing. Someone's backing those advertisements and marketing schemes. Soros comes to mind. Wouldn't be a bit surprised if it was Obama, the Clintons, what's left of them, and Russia. Not to mention the CCP. You know, the ones that want real world domination. China. When I say all citizens, folks, of all ages, I mean it. If you notice any of your TV or radio ads, more TV, I would say, if there is such an existence of normal TV, there's no more regular networks to find entertainment as opposed to coercion and buy this item or buy this product or buy this narrative. Or else. Or else what? These people make all kinds of threats, ladies and gentlemen. On a quick side note here on Firm. All kinds of accusations, all kinds of demands on the American people. They call us stupid for voting Donald Trump into office. Gee, I don't think 77 to 80 million people could be wrong when he's turned this country around. A big fat U-turn on the Biden and Harris administration, or regime is more like it, from falling off a deadly cliff. But I want to talk about the ages. These marketers and advertisers have so much buck and so much dollar sign in their wallets and their purses, ladies. Oh, no. You ladies out there who are coercionally and corruptibly fattened in the old bank account, like Janet Mills, that we have to put up with in our state of Maine. There's no consideration for our free will anymore that we were born with. Everybody in this country and in this world was born with free will. You want to keep denying it? well, you got a big problem than you thought you had. Our free will? Yeah, so that we had options. It wasn't that long ago when American citizens had options to decide whether we're going to buy something or not, or to take advantage of a lower cost item. There's no such thing anymore. We want to protect our families, not only them, but the elderly as well, and especially children between the ages of 12 and 21. That's right, the demographic has shrunk, folks. 12 years old thereafter, these kids. Why? Should be fairly simple to figure out, folks. You give your child a cell phone at the age of 12, you are asking for big, big, big trouble. Especially from all these snakes right here. And I mean even Fox News. They're not being left out. They're all enemies of the state and of our freedoms in this country. Otherwise, we're facing that cliff that Donald Trump helped make a big U-turn against. From a possible cataclysmic demise of this once free and easy lifestyle in the United States of America. What to do? Well, here's our current President of the United States, folks. A lot of people don't want to see it, but you know what? You're going to see it anyway. He is, or I should say has more recently, been in touch with the folks down there at, as I was mentioning at the top of the program, ladies and gentlemen, CBS and Paramount. Apparently they agreed to a contract negotiation of partnership. Yikes. Just conglomerates keep getting bigger and bigger, folks, and your wallets and mine and everything else, everyone else's around here in the entire United States I'm talking about, keep getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and taxes keep going up and up and up. Well, our current president recently had a triumph over one of the networks, CBS Paramount, as we mentioned, that should make us all sit up and take note. That American values are better than this hogwash being thrown at us. So here it is, folks. Thanks to our friends in Glenn Beck's neck of the woods, Texas, and his organization, Blaze Media, Mr. Trump, or President Trump, has triumphed over Paramount and CBS's misinformation on an interview they did with Kamala Harris way back in 2024 during a 60 Minutes interview. Articles written by Joseph McKinnon of Blaze Media back on July 2nd. Paramount is out 8 figures, monetarily speaking, over their Herculean effort to make Harris appear coherent. Liberal media pulled out all the stops to portray Trump in a negative light and to present the Democratic opponent as halfway intelligible. In an October report from Media Research Center, MRC, the broadcast evening news coverage of the race was the most lopsided in history, with ABC, CBS, NBC treating Kamala Harris to 78% positive coverage and Trump 85% negative. Gotta be kidding me. In their persuasion, CBS Paramount had Ms. Harris sit down for an interview on 60 Minutes. The heavily edited version of the interview that aired October 7th proved to be a complete disaster, not only for Ms. Harris, but for the liberal network and its parent company, we just said, which now has to pay a steep price. Mr. Trump sued CBS News over the interview October 31st of 2024, accusing the network of, quote, bipartisan or unpartisan and lawful acts of election and voter interference through malicious, deceptive, and substantial news distortion calculated to confuse, deceive, and mislead the public and attempt to tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party. As heated as it was, more of the heat was coming from the lamestream media, wasn't it, folks? I think it was. Still ticked off from when President Trump, when he was candidate Trump, who initially came down the escalator in 2015, hasn't stopped. So, to conclude the story here, folks, Mr. Trump initially sued for $10 billion, but then increased his claim to a subsequent filing afterwards to $20 billion. That's right, you heard, folks. CBS and Paramount Global realized the strength of his historic case and had no choice but to settle. You know what that means. Less than what's being charged. The parent company announced after this that it would settle. CBS said in a court filing days earlier there was a meritless lawsuit that takes aim at a news organization for editorial decisions plaintiffs dislike. Gee, you know what, folks? If it was something that plaintiffs dislike, how about the cold-blooded murder of two innocent, getting ready to be married Jewish people, biological male and female, in cold blood in broad daylight in Washington, D.C. not long ago? Gee, if they had lived, folks, I think they would have sued the person that shot them, and just because they disliked him? But the agreement with Paramount, CBS, and Mr. Trump, which Freedom of the Press Foundation preemptively threatened to sue Paramount over, $16 million will be allocated to Trump's future presidential library and to the president's fees and costs, according to CBS News. Blaze News, Mr. Beck's organization, was publishing this article, reached out to the White House. A spokesperson for Trump's legal team told Fox News Digital, with this record settlement, the president delivers another win for the American people as he once again holds the fake news media accountable for their wrongdoing and deceit. CBS and Paramount Global realized the strength of his historic case and had no choice but to settle. President Trump will always ensure that no one gets away with lying to the American people as he continues on his singular mission to make America great again. The outcome greatly resembles Trump's settlement with ABC. That was with George Stephanopoulos, and actually sued him directly, not just the network. That one was back in March of 2024 during an interview where the host, Stephanopoulos, hosted and was falsely stating that the Republican candidate had been found liable by a multiple juries for a rape. The woman we will not mention anymore. She's fake. She was put up to it. Everybody knows that. Paramount, however, agreed that moving forward, 60 Minutes will release transcripts of interviews with presidential candidates in the future, subject to redactions as required for legal or national security concerns. Oh, my gracious sakes. My goodness sakes, people. You just do not freaking learn. None of them. None of them do they, folks? Not a damn one of them. Every single one of our newspapers in the state of Maine supplant a fee to the governor of the state, Janet Mills, and her cronies to keep pushing the negative and the threats against good citizens of our state. Can you imagine what's going on at the federal level? CBS and 60 Minutes defrauded the public by doing something which has never to this extent been seen before. CBS initially refused to release the unedited transcript of the 60 Minutes Harris interview. So the FCC, which received a formal complaint on October 16th from the Center for American Rights, requesting an investigation into possible news distortion, released the raw footage and the full transcript on February 5th. The footage confirmed critics' suspicions and demonstrated the great lengths taken by the network to make Harris appear intelligible and concise. Neither one of those characters fit Ms. Harris's brain. Blaze News previously reported that the version of the interview that went on air was reflected in CBS's official transcript, and it was edited. So that Harris appeared to say in response, "We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end." Of course, Israel, Hamas, and Iran. Multiple cases of similar edits made the apparent intention of making Harris appear more coherent. You could certainly go with something on that, folks. So after the FCC released the full interview in February, Trump stated that both CBS and 60 Minutes defrauded the public by doing something which it has never to this extent been seen before. They 100% removed Kamala's horrible election-changing answers to questions and replaced them with completely different and far better answers taken from another part of the interview. Editing. Simple editing, folks. I pity the people who had to do the editing. The election-changing stuff, he said. Mr. Trump, that is. Is election interference, and quite simply, election fraud at the level of lying, coercion, and corruption never seen before. One final thing on this particular instance, folks. We're talking about enemies of the state, but also enemies of the First Amendment on firm. Mark Merrill. Wendy McMahon stepped down as president of CBS News in May of this year, 2025, noting in a statement, quote, "It's become clear the company and I do not agree on the path forward." The previous month, longtime 60 Minutes executive director Bill Owens resigned, stating, "Over the past months, it has become clear that I would not be allowed to run the show as I have always run it to make independent decisions based on what was right for 60 Minutes and right for the audience." Oh, jeez. You have got to be kidding me, Mr. Owens. Well, it's true. So as we come to a conclusion about that, folks, we will certainly remind you once again, these guys are the enemies of the state. But as far as we're concerned, you, the smart American people, biologically speaking, of course, should always keep us in mind. This is Firm. Fairness in Reporting Media. Mark Merrill, your host. Check our podcast anytime at fairnessinreportingmedia@gmail.com and online on YouTube, X, and all of our podcasts at rumble.com/fairnessmedia1, rumble.com/fairnessmedia1. As always, stay safe, everyone. Peace to all.